Now, you know those independent, low-budget movies that used to come on a BET, a Bounce TV, maybe late night cable? You maybe even had it on the bootleg. You would watch it and say to yourself, this is really like low-key a good movie. If it maybe had a bigger budget, I could see it being outside. Blue Hill Avenue is definitely one of those.
I can't stay.
Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Tyra here with another struggle review, here to discuss Blue Hill Avenue. Now this movie is from 2001 and it stars Allen Payne. Now before we get into all things, shells fly, guns pop, a newborn child you got, and your wife wants you to stop. Chocolate allies realize something you can't have, a life that won't be your last. Ow, whole freaking bop. Bop and a half. I need you guys to drop down and subscribe to my channel and like this video. I'm going to give you guys a moment to do that, and we're going to come back here and discuss Twinkie's wig. I don't know about y'all in the back. I am just strictly here to discuss Twinkie's wig. There needs to be a whole dissertation on that alone, because why? I don't care what was lacking in the budget. Just why? Why?
Go back.
Now that you guys have hopefully subscribed to see more of me, let's get into this movie. But before we jump into the film, I have to give a shout out to the person who paid for it and requested it. So if you happen to lose all of your childhood friends in a gunfight, it's not because of me. It's because of this person right here. Thank you so much for supporting me and paying for this content. Now getting into this film, it was directed, written, produced, edited, all by the same person, Craig Ross Jr. Now you may be familiar with him from his other works. If you had happened to ever in your life stumbled up on a movie by the name of Killjoy, aka the Ghetto Pennywise, he also directed that film. Now even though all of his movies are Black independent affairs, there isn't a whole lot behind the budget. His movies and those like it often give work to Black actors who wouldn't get work otherwise. And not just strictly the actors, but everybody who is on the writing team or behind the camera also. And even though there may be some not so great B actors there or extras, we also get stars like Allen Payne, who portrays the lead in this role. What I always loved about Allen Payne is that he never met a role that he didn't like. So often I feel like actors and actresses, they get so hung up on wanting to be that top person, and it's just like, if I'm not going to be the Will Smith or the Denzel, I don't want it at all. It seems like Allen Payne took the route of, I am just trying to work. Everybody can't be that, but I can be the best in my field and never feel like I'm too good or beneath a certain role, which is why we've seen him in everything from classic movies, made-for-TV movies, sitcoms, and stage plays. And even though independent, lower-budget movies are considered to give us some of the best gems that we get now, back then it was considered a step down for actors, not receiving as much support as they do now. But what I love about a director like Craig Ross Jr. is you see the growth in his career from movie to movie, getting into a Killjoy, giving us something like Blue Hill Avenue, giving us movies like Ride or Die, and giving us movies like Motives, like whole Motives, all of them, whole bops. Motives are, considered those gems in the independent world way back then. We love to watch a good Motives or the Twa series. Don't sleep, y'all know we was all being nasty watching those movies together. Stop. Now, this movie takes place in Boston, the hometown of our director. This is very much so a family affair type of movie where everybody is working together to make it happen. Not just him, but even getting into the opening theme song, you know, that song that is synonymous with the movie, that is just explaining everything that is going on in song. Shells fly, guns pop, bop, bop. It's by Aaron Spears, the actor who portrays Money in the movie. Love it, but the movie takes you right out as soon as it begins and you see the year that we are supposed to be in. It's supposed to be October of 1991, but judging by everybody's attire, their haircuts, the vibe at all, it feels like we are in the early 2000s. Clearly, we didn't have enough money to take it there. It just really felt like the director went, you know, what's cheap but'll look cool? You know what? The Matrix came out not too long ago. We need to put everybody in a trench coat. Let's put everybody in a trench coat and a man in black suit. Now, what this movie lacks in budget, it makes up for in story. Us as the audience, you become really intrigued by the drug deal at hand going astray. How did we wind up here? Simon, who's missing, Money, Ebone, and most definitely Tristan. Are they all about to meet their ends here? If I could go back, would I make the same decision? Love the basketball transition scene. Very, very he got game of the director. Even this narration that we get the entirety of the movie via Allen Payne, who carries this movie on his back. It gives the film quality without having to spend a dime. Now, the story in itself isn't really all that unique. It's the rise and fall of young teens who later change and begin to distrust each other as they get older into adulthood and want different things in life. Very Sugar Hill, very Paid in Full, maybe even a little New Jack City adjacent. A lot of us refer to this movie as the moment that G Money gets to be Nino Brown. Now, is this movie as good as those? Absolutely not. But what it does do different is take us on a journey with these young boys from the age of 14. And via the writing, you see that they always were who they became. They didn't really change in character. Personalities and decisions that they made then reflect the same ones that they make when they become man. But we can't really see the good or the bad or the qualities in some friends because we just see them at this moment as our boys who have our back. Now, though young, they are already tough and have heart regardless of their opponent. Even if the boys are older, don't want to pay up after a basketball game, and just so happen to work for Benny. Who is Benny, you may ask? Well, Clarence Williams III, of course. AKA, you won't. The local kingpin pimp control everything that moves, especially those corners, and who gets to stand on them. Now, paid in weed instead of the $20 that they were owed. Of course, we smoke it, but we also seize an opportunity when it presented itself to steal it and decide to sell it. Besides, what's so wrong with that? Damn near everybody in this community is connected to some sort of criminal activity, especially the men that we look up to. Whether it's the rival gangs who also sell on the corner, Benny who is in charge of everything, feared yet respected, our own uncle who sends us out to buy weed for him, or your local pimp by the name of Twinkie who has an invested interest in the likes of Simon. Let's get into Twinkie in this wig. Slick talk, a slick suit, and an even slicker Barbie wig. Why? There had to have been so many other options. Who in the hell made the executive decision to place that on top of that man's head? The stiff, shiny, cheap, yucky My Little Pony ass extension. I just need answers. Getting into our four boys in their trades, of course we have Tristan, our leader and always the mastermind. From the very start, wanting to be self-sufficient and independent of any overhead. We grow it, we package it, we sell it, and we keep all the profits. In fact, I'm already smart enough to avoid the likes of Benny and the need to sell on the corner, secretly beginning to sell at school. And then we have Simon, who's always been the closest to Tristan out of the friends group, not just because they love each other, but because Tristan saved his life when they were younger. He's also the largest one out of the group, the most feared, and is the muscle. You have Money, the ladies' man, and the peacemaker. He's a very go along to get along kind of guy, falls somewhere in the middle, and is very, very loyal. And lastly, we have E-Bone. And I'm gonna save money, and I'm gonna and I'm gonna save money, not that kind of E-Bone. E-Bone is the risk taker, a bold yet selfish opportunist, never being satisfied with the safe money that they are making, the slow money from selling at school, and eventually in secret starts to sell on the side all on his own. Puts the entire group and their entire operation in jeopardy already at that young age. Greedy, always longing for what he doesn't have, and promptly gets his ass whooped for it. He also awakens the beast in Tristan, who decides, maybe I want some of that fast money too. But unlike the rest of them, Tristan had multiple options. Where we have the likes of E-Bone, who stays with an uncle and is raised by his grandmother. We have Money, who we don't really know a whole lot about, but we do find out later in the movie, he says, you guys are the only family that I have. Simon doesn't know who his father is, and we do find out later on that his mother was a prostitute. And then we have Tristan, who is raised in a 2-parent household, well taken care of, has a baby sister, and even has an uncle who owns a barbershop, sees what he is doing firsthand and does give him a warning. Not being able to talk him out of it, fine. If this is what you want to do, please have an escape route, a plan for when this doesn't work out. This lifestyle only leads in one direction. Portrayed by Richard Lawson. All right, girl, he sound educated, girl. We about to celebrate my divorce. Like, oh, I always say that when I see Richard Lawson. And lastly, in a way, we do kind of have Martine. Martine is a young girl who likes Tristan, but doesn't like the fact that he does sell drugs. But she kind of pushes that to the side and puts blinders on, even in the 8th grade, to what he does and how he gets his money, opting to partake in the gifts and the affection that he shows her. We, of course, see the same mirrored behavior in Martine all the way up into their marriage and their adulthood. Now, even though we are a group and we are all the same age, Tristan, our leader who takes that big step, changes everything as we go from selling weed to actually catching bodies. Killing off their rivals, child, all the aimless, senseless shooting in this movie. Like, y'all might as well have turned the gun this way. Like, all the shots fired at close blank range that went nowhere, just absolutely laughable. But in becoming a gangster, we can't really be on our own because we are in debt to the likes of Benny. Now, Benny creates this imaginary debt. You know, you killed off my corner boys and didn't get permission from me. Be that as it may, Benny saw him as a threat even at 14. Already moving with force, making executive decisions, not afraid to catch a body, already trying to operate solo dolo. Let me get this young man under my wing before he surpasses me and becomes a problem. But now, we're not talking about any weed. Now it's the 80s and we selling a little crack. Now older and still playing our same positions, our operations run flawlessly. All 4 guys are in charge of their own individual cliques and makes much money together. Only now they are becoming a bit too big in Benny's eyes. Maybe even bigger than me. Nobody gets to be bigger than me. I need to take them out immediately. The entire second half of the movie is filled with Clarence Williams III being very predictable with the writing, conspiring against the group to outsmart Tristan and eventually kill them. using underhand tactics, trying to get the guys to distrust each other. All the while, a very smart Tristan is always 5 and 6 steps ahead, planning to abide and pacify Benny up until the moment that he can take him out first. But is that what we really want to do? With the drugs that he is distributing in the community that is ruining the neighborhood that Tristan has absolutely no accountability for, not wanting to listen to the likes of his Richard Lawson uncle, or even his very own wife Martine, who has been there from the beginning and is tired, wanting him to walk away. It was very much, I've seen you kill too many people, Nino. It was, it was very that. But with a little extraness, because Martine just so happens to be pregnant with their first child. And they literally have one of the coldest marriages put to TV. Why were they married? Like, the way that they had Tristan, Allen Payne's character, popping up on her like the goddamn boogeyman, it just looked really loveless. Like, there just had to be another way within their marriage to show that Tristan had changed over time, became distant and cold, as well as distrusting, outside of having him pop up on her like Jason. Like, I thought he was gonna hit her. There just wasn't a whole lot of love there for me. They barely showed each other any ounces of affection once they got into adulthood. Now, this is partially because Benny, Clarence with his evil grin every movie, has had 2 cops on their tail this entire movie, planting bugs, planting seeds, and fishing for information, is starting to mess with his dynamic. Our 2 detectives with their deep, sultry voice, that one guy who plays a bad guy in everything, and the other who is always running around as this little demonic djinn trying to get you to fulfill your 3 wishes, but it's never going to be what you actually wish for. Those guys. But even outside of that, Tristan is having a conflict of, do I want to stay in this business solely for my friends? Taking out the likes of Benny means that I am choosing to stay here. Long ago has it stopped being about just getting ahead and getting money. We are financially secure, but we just so happen to maybe be the only one out of the 4 who decided to invest our money. I love Simon, aka you gon' eat your cornbread. R.I.P. to Michael Bear, Taliaferro. As he says, the money comes in and it goes out. I never thought about later. Money, who considers them his brother, strictly wants their dynamic to stay the same. And whether the money is coming in or not, I want Tristan here. You are our leader. You can't just leave us hanging now. And then you have Ebone. Nigga, you and your wife. Oh. The actor who was portraying Ebone was doing the absolute most. I don't know if he went to school, the villain school for acting, but he was definitely giving Marvel supervillain the way that he was acting in this movie. Even though they don't want Tristan to leave and do begin to all distrust him, or just low-key distrust each other when they find out that there is a bug in the car. And of course, the 2 detectives are trying to plant seeds in their ears as far as who they can and can't trust. But when it comes to Ebone, there is some extra hateration and spice on it in the way that he feels about Tristan, because he was jealous. So jealous, such a hater. He wanted to be in that position to have that respect, be that leader, as well as have all the money. But Ebone was never that dude. Ebone was a hothead. He was irrational, not as smart as Tristan, and had absolutely no loyalty. I love when they are riding in the car and he says, oh, you let Martine get in your head, you let the bit get in your head, But as soon as he had the opportunity to allow another female to get inside of his head, he took the deal and decided to be selfish, placing his own needs and desires before the group, just as he did when they were kids. I thought that was just such great writing. But we also still operate out of the Blue Hill Avenue when Benny told us to shut it down, resulting in the group eventually losing Simon. Now, even though Tristan is borderline straddling the fence on whether or not he wants to walk away, especially when his boys that are supposed to be the closest to him and know him better than anybody decides to maybe distrust him and look at him sideways. But after Simon ass rolls up on the car and says, let the goddamn window down, I swear that scene cracks me up every That scene cracks me Yup, every single freaking time. Like most drug dealers, most kingpins, it's all good and dandy until somebody close to us is the one doing the drugs. It just so happens to be his little baby sister. Why every time somebody gotta be a crackhead or a drug addict in a movie, we have to make them paler than Jesus? Why? Why did they slap all that flour on that girl's face and on her lips? Tristan, you could have been anything. You could have gone anywhere. Why do you sell drugs, son? Because I'm good at it. Really good scenes. There are some diamond in the rough scenes like that one there. Or I love the scene between him and Simon when Simon is referring to this recurring nightmare that he has of him about to get hit by that car that Tristan saved him from, and just feeling like I am living on borrowed time. That's why I'm not afraid of anything. Really good stuff. In the end, a Tristan who has every intention of walking away now stays behind to avenge his best friend's murder. When we have Twinkie roll up to take Simon out, hilariosity. The close-ups on the hair, the sideburns, the face, like, oh Lord, like, it's those little things there that kind of take you out of the movie, as well as us getting to certain points of the film. Like, child, we met y'all in 78. Outside of Tristan, the crew, and Martine, nobody aged. Everybody looked exactly the same. I was like, God damn, how much did it cost to salt and pepper some of these actors? At least Benny's ass should be well into a walker or a wheelchair by now. He was older in 78. Like, no, everybody looks exactly the same, even getting down to Twinkie. At that moment, we do find out that Twinkie is actually his biological father, which means Twinkie rolled up to kill his very own son. Dying, Simon does try to leave behind a clue as to who killed him. We're just gonna gloss over that little ass casket that Simon was supposed to be getting buried in. At that very moment, we put all of the clues together, find out that it was Twinkie, as well as fix our friendship dynamic. There never should have been any distrust, especially for the likes of Tristan. We have always had each other's back. Does E-Bone say anything about anything at that moment? Absolutely not, because he was always for himself. When they roll up to take out Twinkie and they ask him, why? You are about to die. Tell us why you killed Simon. I mean, he ain't look nothing like me. Like, why would you kill your own son? I mean, you know, the nigga ain't looking nothing like me, so. Now, of course, in the end, we do find out why, but that scene just always freaking cracks me up. Regaining the trust for not only our wives, but our friend, we feel like everything is okay. Everybody does not keep that same energy. Everybody just strictly being the likes of E-Bone, who not only sets up a side deal for himself and his little female with the little drug cartel, but we also set up a side deal with the police, digging himself into a hole because he doesn't want to admit to the fact that he was the one still dealing out of the Blue Hill Avenue. He was the one who was constantly, from day one, putting his friend's life in jeopardy. You know what? I should just have them set up and just kill all of them anyway, especially Tristan, because I never liked him and I was always jealous that I couldn't be him. Bringing us back to the very beginning of the film, the shootout, like all the other shootouts in this movie, are absolutely trash. Child, who's getting shot where? Nobody. You can be this close to a person and you are not going to be able to shoot them. But in the end, they are the only three left standing. On his Bishop Raheem energy, when he just kills money for no reason. When I tell y'all I freaking hollered, especially you guys who have been present for every single one of my winning time lives, when E-Bone shoots money and he goes like, why? And freaking E-Bone says, I ain't mean to do that. Like, it was giving Magic Johnson. It was giving Magic Johnson winning. I didn't mean to do that. You just really see that he is crazed with this selfishness and this greed that he has had in his heart this entire time for the group, especially Tristan, always feeling like he would, you're gonna leave us, you're gonna do this. I have always had your back. Why would anything be any different? You know what? It really doesn't matter because now I have to shoot you, leaving Tristan to solely be the last one standing. In the end, a very smart Tristan does have evidence to use against Benny and also gets to say, you could never beat me. Like, you just want to beat me. Everybody was hating on Tristan ever since he was a young boy. You wanted to break me. You were never going to break me. I was always going to be smarter than you. Very 5 heartbeats, flashing the evidence marks. How does it feel to be me? Very Eddie Kane Jr. With this evidence in tow, of course, Benny has to let him go. I don't know why he was so hell-bent on staying in Boston. Tristan, I ain't leaving Boston. I want to stay here and live here in peace. Here's the drugs. Here's all the money. I just want my life, my happiness, my solace, and to be one with my wife. Why we couldn't do that anywhere else, I absolutely don't know. But in the end, of course, we're not going to have a complete Allen Payne, especially hood classic movie, if he doesn't cry. Always has to cry, but this scene is different. He does, give all of this energy, all this frustration, takes it out on the steering wheel, very like slow motion, just ass scene. Like, is this really it? Is it really just me? Has it come to this? But with Martine and this evil snare that she gives to the camera, would I do it all over again? Absolutely. I'm not apologizing for anything. Everything that I have done has made me who I am, and I'm probably gonna be a better man for it. Now, is this a fairy tale ending? Absolutely. Anybody else in Tristan's position would have got pop, pop, pop. But you know what? Hey. We take what we can get when watching Blue Hill Avenue. Well, you guys, that was my review for Blue Hill Avenue. I hope you enjoyed it. Please drop down and tell me what you thought about it. Do you consider this a classic? Do you watch it all the time? Have you never seen this movie? I would love to know. I look forward to you guys hitting that like button, sharing this video to support me, as well as reading your comments. I see you guys next time for my next video. Bye.